consumer surplus shows us the difference between what a customer is willing to pay and the actual price of a product. When you go into the grocery store or into Best Buy, they tell you how much the market price is for a particular good. But that is not necessarily the same amount that you would have been willing and able to pay. Recall that the demand curve shows us the relationship between price and the amount we are willing and able to buy. So at different prices, we determined how many of a good we were willing and able to buy. Well, the demand curve also tells us that for a certain quantity, how much we were willing and able to pay. When we look at the difference between what we're willing and able to pay and the actual price, we can determine consumer surplus, or find out what kind of deal we are getting. Suppose that what we see here is the demand curve for DVDs, and the price of DVDs, determined by the market, is $10. So when you go into Best Buy, a DVD is $10. Well, that first DVD that we want, we would have been willing to pay $22.50 for it. This is evident by our demand curve. At a quantity of 1, the price that we would be willing and able to pay would be $22.50. When we go to buy that second DVD, the amount that we would be willing and able to pay is less than the first because the extra value we're getting from that second DVD is less than the first. So let's suppose we would have been willing to pay about 20 bucks. Maybe a little bit less. But when you go into the store, it's only $10. Since that is less than we would be willing to pay, we'll buy the DVD. We go to buy a third DVD. And what we find is that the amount that we were willing to pay for that DVD is more than the price. So we go ahead and buy that DVD as well. What about the fourth DVD? Well, as long as the amount we were willing and able to pay is more than we actually have to pay, we'll buy that DVD as well. And the same with the fifth. Now, what about that sixth DVD? Well, the store says it costs $10 for the sixth DVD. But we would have been willing and able to pay only about $8 for that DVD. So are we going to buy that particular DVD? No. We will buy the DVDs until we are no longer getting any consumer surplus from buying that additional DVD. Notice that at the fifth DVD, the difference between what we are willing to pay and what we actually have to pay is 0. Any DVDs beyond that point, we are not getting any savings. So we will only buy 5 DVDs. To calculate consumer surplus, we look at that deal. How much are we saving? What is the difference between what we're willing to pay and what we actually have to pay? Well, for that first DVD, we were willing to pay $22.50, but we only had to pay $10. So we got a deal of about $12.50. For that second DVD, we were willing to pay about $20. We only had to pay $10, so we're getting a savings of about $10. For the third DVD, we were willing to pay $15. We only had to pay $10. We're getting savings of $5. For that fourth DVD, we were willing to pay about $12.50. We only had to pay $10, so we're getting savings about $2.50. When we get that fifth DVD, we were willing to pay $10. We had to pay $10, and our savings then are 0. We would not buy any additional DVDs. Our total consumer surplus is found by adding up $12.50 plus $10 plus 5 plus 250, which gives us a total consumer surplus of $30. Our savings, or the deal we are getting between what we were willing to pay and what we actually have to pay for those 5 DVDs, is $30. As consumers, we want to maximize that consumer surplus. We want to get the biggest deal we can. As businesses want to maximize what we call producer surplus, or the difference between what it costs to make a good and the price they're able to sell it at. These two conflicting interests are what create the price in the market. If DVDs could be sold in continuous increments, so if we could sell 1.5 DVDs, 0.3 DVDs, and so on, we would find the consumer surplus by simply finding the area of this triangle here. In other words, we would find the consumer surplus as 1 divided by 2 times 25 minus 10 times 5. Our consumer surplus is $37.50. You can see that when we can sell goods in continuous rather than discrete allotments, the consumer surplus that is gained is a lot more.